Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Late Winner Show, where we discuss a lot of different things about football, covering a lot of leagues. But today, we are discussing not any team, not any transfer rumor, but we're doing a player analysis on Declan Rice because a lot of talk has been going around regarding Declan Rice and his performances, even in the recent concluded European Championships. That is a very, very good defensive midfielder. I mean, I'm not going to, and we're not going to discuss on that if he's if what were his performances in the European Championships, but we're going to discuss if he's worth that 100 million euro pounds that West Ham's demanding, and what are his greatest strengths, who is Declan Rice, and what can he bring to those transfer rumor teams in if they go ahead and sign him. I have Anshuman with me, who is who is probably a lot more supportive of Declan Rice than I would say me. Uh, so we'll go ahead and listen to his thoughts. I'll probably give my thoughts as well on the topic, and see if we can actually decide after this 20-25 minute episode if he's actually good and if he's actually something that United or Chelsea, who are the rumored teams to be looking for him, should actually go and sign him. So welcome, Anshuman. Uh, I hope you're doing well. Uh,
Yeah,
let's let's just get started with it. Would you mind sharing a little bit of a knowledge on Declan Rice, where he's coming from, who he is, and what are his greatest strengths?
well, I think a lot of Premier League fans they already know who Declan Rice is. Like his name has been coming up for the last 3 years as an up and coming defensive midfielder. So probably I would say that what I know about him is that he's an English Irish professional footballer. He plays for West Ham, and I think he was a right centre back, I guess, when he started with the youth system of West Ham, and probably when he debuted in 2017, he started as a centre back, but then he initially shifted his attributes and his skills towards the defensive third half, and now probably playing as a ball-winning midfielder,
Mhm.
pretty close to what a defensive midfielder is, but has a different kind of roles that is associated with him. So yeah, I think he's an up and coming, good, promising English defensive midfielder. We see a very less of in our global football.
Mhm.
Probably close to those defensive midfielders would be right now would be Jordan Henderson, who has given a huge stamp to that particular role. Probably, I would say, from my knowledge of Chelsea, one who is very closely associated to the kind of play Declan Rice is Matic when he used to play for Chelsea as well as for United. So yeah, I think I would say that this is what some probably is something that people already know about. So it was a close introduction to who he is.
But what would you describe are his greatest strengths in a West Ham shirt? What have you seen up until now? What would you define as his greatest strength as of now?
See, one thing that I have learned throughout my experience as a football manager player, you know,
Uh-huh.
it's a real life simulation game. So you have to have a very tactical knowledge about the positions because that's how the game is built around. So
Mhm.
when I one thing I realized are how what are the attributes that make a good defensive midfielder, right? So one of those like key attributes is what even some of those great midfielders of Premier League, such as NDD, Kante, they have been showing that is that their tendency to win the ball, right? That tenacity, that eagerness to not let a player who is on the ball go past him, right?
Mhm.
Which gives so probably I would say that his best role right now is would be ball winning and protecting the defense, right? Like he has a from what I've seen in West Ham, he has a under Moyes. What I would see is that when he plays with a traditional formation of 4-2-3-1, right? He plays more as a defensive midfielder who knows how to win the ball. He takes
Yeah.
the ball away from that midfielder or a striker who is pushing towards him, and he makes the forward passes. Even though we have seen a dip in his key passes in the last season, but before that, he was probably like some of the stats that I've known, that some of the stats of the previous season, that is 2019-20 season, where we actually saw how Declan Rice came up as a up and coming defensive midfielder, was that he was overall in Premier League, he was third in interceptions, he was third in possession, he was fourth in the ranking of tackles won, and he was 22nd in the pass completion. So we know that some of those roles as a defensive midfielder he is lacking, where
Yeah.
it is called where vision comes into mind, right, where composure comes into mind, where football intelligence comes into mind. But we also have to keep in mind that he is 22 years old right now, and
Yeah.
he was probably 21, like, right, where he was doing those insane interceptions, he was doing insane, he kept the position of the ball, which resulted in West Ham getting the highest rate of possessions. West Ham probably was the fourth in the Premier League last season as well as in the previous season of keeping the most of the possession,
Okay.
apart from playing the top six teams,
Yeah.
right? And it is natural because even though Declan Rice is a good, promising player, West Ham are not the kind of team that are very well versed in the kind of counter-attacking games, right? And under David Moyes, he tried to play two kind of games where I could see where Declan Rice actually came into his own was when they have a patient football, right?
Yeah.
Which also helped boost his stats in Euros. As you know, Gareth Southgate also likes to play a well defensive-minded possession football, right? So I would say where he is very good at it is ball winning and keeping the defense line in check. I would say that is the most important part, which I also believe in a defensive midfielder. And being at 22, he has already got those attributes in his pocket, right? Uh, of course, he is not as good as Kante. He is not even as good as NDD, right? Because what he lacks is passing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what he has to learn is that he's a very good forward runner. Okay, he has incredible powerful running stats with him. Okay, and he's absolutely capable of carrying the ball forward at a pace to launch counter attacks or simple break lines before like distributing to a teammate, right? So he is very already well established in that kind of podium. What
Right.
I want to see more of him is how confident he is to give those balls when he knows that it is the most safest run to make an attacking flow, right? Some of those
So
statistics,
you,
yeah,
but yeah, I'll stop you there. But you're giving a good point on what he needs to achieve, and I get it. Like because he's still 22, there's a lot of football left in him, and we can't even say that he's probably an elite midfielder at this point of time.
yeah,
He may be in some people's mind. Yes, he may be right, but I think he
right,
has a lot of football to give to the country and to the clubs that he will play for, right? But the thing is that when I look for a defensive midfielder, I'm not only looking from the perspective of uh, having him as a defensive midfielder and only protecting the defense. I would like him to make those runs
yeah, exactly,
into the box. I have seen him making those runs and becoming like a box to box midfielder, which would probably bring another attribute towards his game rather than just that tackling or protecting
right,
the defense
right,
as he does in West Ham. I think I remember one of the recent games in the Premier League, when the recent concluded Premier League season. I think it was against Arsenal that they had a 3-all draw. I think he made a spectacular run from the half line towards the box, towards the
yeah.
Arsenal's box, and he I
And
think
he
scored
does
one.
that frequently. He does that frequently.
Yeah, but then that also, but I guess again, it depends on what kind of team you're playing with, right? It depends
True,
on what kind of team. If
true.
if you're playing with an England's Gareth Southgate's England, you will definitely not have that chance because he's so defensive minded that he'll always make sure that he has five players at least in the back to protect the defense, and that's why probably we never saw like more than a goal from England
They're right.
Barring that one game, we didn't see more than one goal in any of the games that they played, right?
True.
Because they
True.
don't have that number of players in the box to finish, even if they get the
Right.
chance. They just have like
Yeah.
those 2 3 players in the box, right? So does do you think like people saying that he's one of the elite midfielders, is he an elite midfielder according to you? Does he characterize as an elite midfielder? Because let me complete my question. But for me, an elite midfielder would be like somewhere, and again, I'm not going to compare him to the likes of them, but to me, I would say like maybe Modric's or the Cruises or the Kimmich's who are in the central midfielder. Do you think he can become that? Right? The
Yeah.
question would be that.
Yeah. I have complete trust in Rice that he can become that, because see, what I have seen is through the season rating that he has, right? Probably because, according to my knowledge, Declan Rice is probably very close to becoming a very good English midfielder, right?
Okay.
I won't say that he has become a brilliant midfielder overall amongst all of players, but coming through an English channel, playing an English, because we know the lot of players who come from different countries like French, France, some come from Italy. They have a very different kind of mindset while building out the defense, or like building out the midfield. But in English games, midfield is not giving that kind of importance, right? Because probably not a lot of crop of players have come up as a brilliant defensive midfielder. But for me, what I believe is that if your team is well balanced, then if you are doing that particular role of defensive midfielding at the age of 22, right, where you don't have the responsibility to hold out the entire defense. Of course, you cannot have that responsibility because you are very new to the game. You don't have that particular experience of playing Champions League football. You don't have that kind of experience. Declan Rice does not,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? So you don't learn that kind of game around how to move into channels, or how to uh, probably give those long balls, or make sure that whatever pass you are making out, it's going to the right player, right? That comes with experience.
Yeah.
And if he does not get that kind of experience, he won't be able to learn those kind of attributes that you want in a defensive midfielder, right? So, but apart from that, whatever he is doing in West Ham team, like probably he became the he is a two-time West Ham player of the year consecutively,
Yeah.
and there is a reason why. There is a reason why an entire vote of 22 players, he became the best player for them.
Best player. Yeah.
Best brother, because the kind of role that is demanded of him, he does that. Yeah, he does not have those statistics or those skills of a nimble footballer, right? He might not be very pacey, or he might not be very good at switching the roles from a defensive midfielder to a box to box, or sometimes even going forward to play as a cam, which a lot of midfielders that you named have already done in the
Mhm.
past. But you also understand that they have gone through a lot of teams, they have gone through a lot of leagues, like even Tony Cruz, Modric, uh, even Kimmich. They have been around in football, and they have, at the point of time where Declan Rice is right now, when those players were there, when Cruz was probably 22, or when Modric was probably 22, they never had those kind of defensive stats that he has. And
Yeah.
that gives Declan Rice a boost, because he is already very young at his age, and he has already developed his defensive stats. So I am absolutely sure that going forward, he also would realize to become a complete footballer, and to justify when the people say that when the club puts a price tag of 100 million over him,
Mhm.
it is a pressure on him,
Yeah.
right? And as an English footballer, we know how English media is, and even like
It's the English player tax, right?
it's
That you have to pay.
and also like
Yeah.
a lot of people who think that a lot of people who are getting that kind of vibe from Declan Rice is why he's being pushed down our throat as
Yeah.
a big player. It's all because of English media, because we know even if Fabian Delph plays good, he goes to an English national team, right? he goes to an English nationality, and the English media, specifically Sun or Mirror, like they term him as one of those upcoming elite, brilliant players, right? But I completely understand where a lot of where West Ham have come from, because they want to make sure, they want to put that pressure on him as well, because they are putting all the eggs on that particular player,
Hmm.
right? And what I've seen, because what I've seen his mentality, I have seen his mentality grow as a more well-rounded and more, what I would say, more concentrated football,
Yeah,
right? Because, and for example, we have seen his Euros
performance.
stats and his
Yeah,
Euros performance. And one more stats that I would push out is that Rice has won two times more aerial duels per game than his competition's any other defensive midfielder. That is 1.4.
okay.
NDD was 1.2. And Didi had every other stat over him. But when I say about the aerial duels as well as in tackles, that is where Declan Rice excels, and he has been proving it for the last 3 years now, that he has been excelling in reading the game very properly. And I'm not talking about the front side. I'm talking about the defensive side. When the
Yeah,
attacking
yeah.
force is coming towards him, he
Mhm.
knows he knows where he has to be. So
Okay.
the positioning is also brilliant from his side.
Okay.
But yeah, in
So
the end, I would say that he has a long way to go to judge if he's elite or not. And clearly, he's not 100 million player. Of course, he's not.
we'll
I mean,
we'll
that
we'll
is
get
insane.
we'll get to that 100 million question in the last. But let's talk about, let's, for time constraints, let's just talk about your beloved Chelsea.
Yeah,
They are in the rumors to get Declan Rice.
yeah,
But now, we all know that Kante is the holding midfielder in that team, but he doesn't like to play that role. He likes to
right,
push forward and go
right.
into the box and do all those kinds of things when he plays for Chelsea. But when this is about when Lampard was there, when he was, I think you guys were planning to get that, get Declan Rice last summer, in
Yeah,
addition to all those signings, other signings
yeah,
that you guys made. Now now he is not no longer at the club, and
yeah.
with the tactic that Tuchel plays, do you still think that you guys still need him? Because you already have Jorginho, you already have Kante,
Right,
which I already mentioned that he doesn't like to play that, but you already have Jorginho in that place. Do
right,
you
right,
still
right.
believe that you still need a player like Declan Rice, and you are ready to pay 100 million? And we're not going to talk about 100 million, but just say let's a transfer fee. Are you ready to pay
Yeah.
that money for him?
See, it's a two-part answer. The first part, I would say that yes, I can see Declan Rice play in a Tuchel role.
Mhm.
The second part is no, I don't want, and I don't see Chelsea playing 100 million to get him here. The advantages of getting him here, forget about the 100 million, is that we know that, of course, he is nowhere close to Jorginho or Kante in that level. But
Yeah.
we also have to put into factor that Kante is right now 32 years old and Jorginho is 30. All right, they are becoming aged,
Mhm.
and we know that from the past, from the history of Premier League, aged midfield is only going to hamper your chances. And I'm not saying that Kante is gonna like dip down his performances, because he's an anomaly, right? He can like be the same kind of player going down 33 years or 34. But I have
But
my doubts about Jorginho, right?
but Kante is only 30, not
Okay,
32.
he is 30. Okay,
Yeah.
he's 30. And Jorginho is probably
He's
30 or
29.
29.
20,
He's
29.
29.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, but they are reaching that age of 30 where you know that there is a dip that is coming into their game. And
Mhm.
at one point of time, Kante has to, if he stays in Chelsea or even if he goes anywhere else,
Mhm.
because of his age, he has to change the kind of game he plays, right? He cannot switch back from an holding midfielder to a box to box midfielder or going forward. He has to get that fixed role at one point of time. And that is where Declan Rice comes in. He won't be a starting player for me as well right now, but he can come from a bench. And because when Declan Rice
But
is most
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, when Declan Rice is most used is when we are like defending a lead, right? or when we need to control the game, that is where Declan Rice comes in. And like all the games that I've seen from Tuchel, and probably it is a lack of our strike force as well that Werner is not getting those goals. But according to the formation that he has built in, it is balanced between a cautious football and a counter-attacking football, right? It like Tuchel always starts with a more cautious approach of making sure that the players are in shape for the first 30 or 40 minutes, and then they start playing. It has happened back to back again. We have seen it when Tuchel came in. So we
So,
know that, yeah.
but what I was coming at is that your point is valid. Like he would definitely stick at Chelsea, but then somebody has to take the hit and start perform and start from the bench, right? I don't think either Kante or Jorginho is ready to start from the bench. The
No, they
only
have.
reason
That is what I said. That is what I said. That he will always be on a bench for the particular season. I won't see. I won't
but
like
then
to see
but
him.
then it doesn't but then it doesn't make sense, right? Like you buy a so much of a high profile player. I would say he's a high profile player now. You buy a high profile player and now you put him on the bench. The only reason I'm also saying is that because somebody would have to take it, and it's probably going to be Jorginho. Kante is too valuable to Chelsea that he will go to the
And
bench.
also remember that
The
we have Kovacic.
the so Kovacic, exactly. So then, and Lingard, Lingard. The Rice is actually playing as a two-man in the two-man midfield at West Ham with Thomas
Right.
as the other midfield player, right?
Right.
So in that case, he has always played that. But in Chelsea, who would take the hit, right? And no, I don't think he straight away goes into the team like you said. So why is the need to buy him so much when you already have so many defensive-minded players or a proper good midfield players to protect the defense? Why is there a need? Why is there a
See,
need for
because see, because I stated it again, because he had see his stats from the defensive perspective are brilliant. Where he lacks in the kind of forward runs he takes or the kind of attacking play that he can contribute is pretty less right now.
it? Yeah,
But if for me, if I am a manager, if I bring him in, right? If I bring him in, so I'm gonna start him from the bench. But that does not mean that he is not going to be the core player of that particular team. He will always come into the if for me, I would start to push Jorginho less and Declan Rice more because we also need to give him the particular time to make his potential grow. He's such a young player, right? And also he would be a very good player for the future as well, which what I believe is what Lampard did with Kai Havertz,
yeah,
right? And we have seen it took time for Havertz, but he has come up his age with Chelsea as well, and that confidence also came with Germany, where he started
yeah,
playing a more versatile role as a goal scorer as well as a passer, right? And that is the strategy that I would also go with Declan Rice. I would get him because if he learns, if he becomes better in the forward runs with any other team or with West Ham, I believe that his price tag would reach that particular area where a lot of pressure would come in on him. So before that happens, before he gets out of our hands and probably goes to City, right? I would absolutely grab him up because of his undying potential that I see in him. Yes,
just,
what
just,
where my question comes in is he is probably close to 40 million right now if I would pay for
okay,
him. And yes, because of the price hike and all that for the pandemic,
yeah,
they need to get more. I would say he's close to 50 million, and 50 million right now is not a big money. We
yeah.
have seen a lot of players
50
come, a
million
lot of
is
players.
50 million is okay for that kind of player right now at that age.
Exactly. And for
He,
me,
he,
50 million
he
player, he comes in, he gels up with the team first. Of course, it's gonna help because he's English. And
yeah,
also another trivia fact that I came to know is that he is best friends with Mason Mount. They have been through the same schools, right? They worked in the same youth academy before switching sides to West Ham youth and Chelsea youth. So
Chelsea
that
is
also comes would come into factor. That would also help him gel more, right? And I think we for Chelsea, I think for personally, I would like to see a more English players in our team rather than completely dishing out the foreign players, because personally I would see that I need that English flavor as well, isn't it? In the
in the
end, they
team.
are playing in an
Exactly.
English league, right?
Yeah.
So we need,
So
and I yeah.
just to stop you over there, but even the let's talk about the other team as well, who is being rumored, which is Manchester United. For me, speaking about them, I don't really see Declan Rice as an option at this moment of time. It's a very simple reason for me. I won't take that much time. It's just that we already have a Scottish player in the name of Scott McTominay, and he has already had a very good season. I think I mentioned in one of the other podcasts as well that Scott McTominay has had a very good season, and from here I would only see upwards for him. It is not going to, hopefully it's not going to be a downfall for him this season. The other thing, and the other person who plays alongside with him is either is Fred, who already makes those runs against the defense as well, even though I don't like him that much. But I would not trade him for Declan Rice at this moment of time. And also, just because of the valuation that he is at right now, I don't think he provides that much to the team currently, that you need to pay that much money so that he will make you, and he will deliver you something. He is not going to deliver you. He is not the player who will deliver you a league title. That is for sure. So you need to, and again, that's it's not about this is not a United podcast, but I'm
but
just saying
but again, I would also,
he
but again I would
he
say that he might be able to deliver a title, because that also depends on the surroundings that you have, right? For him to grow, I think an environment of really good players, I think gonna bring Declan Rice into more of a well-rounded player rather than him being in a team where he is the best player at the age of 22, and he's not that good compared to a lot of players, right? So I think that is something that I would not say a guarantee that he's not gonna get you the league or that get you a cup. He probably might, because
of
you
course,
have
I
to.
mean, that's a big if, right? But I just don't believe. I mean, at this time, I'm just saying, like, the players that United already has, and the way that Ole has already developed, and the type of season that they had last season, they don't need to restructure in that particular field. They need to strengthen in other fields, which we will talk about later. But I don't think there is a need at this moment of time for Declan Rice in United. Maybe Chelsea, because you gave a very solid reason as to why you don't think that. I think it's a very short and simple answer that McTominay and Fred are doing a splendid job at this moment of time. I don't see any upgrade on him, or we need to look for it because they're probably getting old or anything. Fred is 28. I think McTominay is also 24, 25. So it's not something we really
But
need.
also,
Again,
do you really think, that McTominay, we have seen from McTominay that he suddenly has that temperament of an attacking player,
yes,
right? So
exactly.
do you really think that not getting Declan Rice? I'm not talking about the price tag. I'm absolutely disregarding the price tag, because I completely believe that that is outrageous and
Hmm.
that is a joke. So if I just consider Declan Rice as a normal transfer target, coming around probably 40 million or 50 million to United, right? Do you really think that Fred is your number one option, and not investing in that defensive midfield role, which we already know that can make you lose Champions League finals, right? So, do you really think that
And
not
and
investing
Euro
on a
and Europa
player
League finals and
and
Europa
Europa
League.
League finals, Europa League finals? So you already know that not investing on a player, on a defensive-minded player who, first of all, comes from an English-grown
Mhm.
talent, all right, who has already developed the defensive attributes in him, right? And he is young, so probably he has not even reached his potential yet. Yes, it is always a risk of buying young players. It is
Of
a
course,
rule of
of course.
football, right? But a lot of players who have shown brilliance have been on that particular age where we have started seeing them. Some, of course, there are a lot of players such as Vardy and a lot of players who come up of his age after a pretty long time, right?
Yeah.
When they reach probably at the older stage of them, they get the experience and start learning the game. But most of the times, we have seen the players becoming those elite players from a young age, which also results the kind of atmosphere and the kind of training, the kind of players you are like piled up with. So I think, for me, I think Declan Rice would do wonders if he goes to a bigger club rather than
I
staying in a.
I would probably say it's not. I wouldn't agree with you just because I
Mhm.
think he still has to prove a lot in the team that he is currently at. And I don't firstly the and sorry and the secondly I don't really see any big team needing him at this moment of time. I think majority of the big teams have a good solid midfielder, defensive midfielder in their team, and they don't really need them. I think Arsenal has Thomas Partey. United already mentioned. Chelsea already has. City has Rodri and Fernandinho. Tottenham has Højbjerg. So I
let's
don't really
let's
see them.
let's not talk about Tottenham.
Okay, let's not talk about Tottenham, but yeah, I think we should, and I also think we missed the 100 million question. You want to do you really do you want to quickly conclude on if he is actually a 100 million player or not?
I would just say that he.
I cannot hear you. Ah, can you hear me?
You hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying. So you didn't hear anything, right?
No, no, yeah. So you were mentioning, yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying that uh, for me, he is not 100 million player, but he can be, because I see a huge potential in him. If if he reaches that potential or not, I don't know. I don't believe that if he stays in West Ham, he's gonna reach that potential. For me, to get that particular boost to his stats and make him believe that yes, I have the responsibility and I have the confidence that I can hold the ball, I can build a position, and I can be the guy responsible of creating the forward runs.
Yeah.
I don't think that kind of confidence he's gonna get with the kind of players he's playing with West Ham. I know there are a lot of talented players. Bowen is there, Pablo Fornal is there. His partnership with Suchek has been brilliant,
Brilliant, yeah.
right? But also, even through that, I one thing I learned that he right now requires a partner in midfield. And with Chelsea playing alongside Jorginho as well as Kante, he's gonna learn a lot, because he's pretty similar when coming towards the defensive side with Kante. The way he is relentlessly marking a player, the way he relentlessly just wants to get away with the ball without getting the foul. That is a very important thing. So that is where his tackling comes in. He knows when to do those kind of tackles. So I
Yeah.
think it is only going to make him become a better player. And of course, it's a risk. He might not. We know a lot of English players, they have a lot of potentials. In the end, they don't come out to be that great.
Yeah.
But for
You know,
me, I
I'm
think Declan Rice can be a 100 million player. Right now, he probably isn't.
the I'm just going to conclude after this, but I feel like West Ham are obviously upping his price just because of his age and English player tax. I just feel like I just mentioned about like the players, the teams who are targeting them, they already know that they have players for them, so they don't really value the 100 million market, and that's why probably there have been no bids for him. It's
Yeah,
a very, I think it's a very like a similar example would be Zaha. Right? Zaha has been of
exactly.
requesting his transfer for a long time. But then you see the other teams, the top 8 teams, they already have that left winger and already a very well established left winger. You will not break Crystal Palace an 80, 90 million pound fee for Zaha because they can always like go to Man City, they'll probably go sign Ferran Torres for half the price. So they won't, and they can
Absolutely.
get, and they will get probably the same similar number of goals and assists from him. You are not going to get if you sign Zaha like
but
50 goals.
that is a mentality, right? I don't have that mentality of I believe in like harnessing a young player, and if I see a young player showing potential, I would love to see him in the team, because
Okay, I think
you are getting, what you're
this
getting is age, which is very very important.
our beloved Saurabh from the other podcast from the podcast, he's saying definitely like I hope Chelsea buys Rice for Anshuman. So that's probably it, and I think we should leave it at. So neither of us agree that he's 100 million player right
Yeah,
now, but he can definitely become. So
absolutely.
that concludes our podcast. I think it was a really good player analysis on what Declan Rice is and what he can do and what are the things that he still possesses and he could still improve on.
And
So
I have been very vocal that he has a lot to improve, where
yeah,
I completely agree with you as well.
yeah,
But then I also see him that he can improve.
yeah. So thank you so much for joining and providing your thoughts on Declan Rice. And maybe if he does sign for Chelsea, we'll probably do another podcast as to as to if you are actually happy or not now, or like who and yeah, if you think that he's going to deliver that elusive league title now for to Chelsea. So thank you, Anshuman, for joining, and for all our viewers, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. A lot more stuff is going to come on our channel. Do subscribe to do follow our Instagram and Twitter channels as well to get more updates on what are the new topics that are going to be covered. So we're going to do more topics like these in the future. A
And,
lot
and,
more
and if you
season.
guys like these kind of conversation where we take one particular player and we talk a very wholesome conversation about how good a player is or what he requires to become that elite player, just do let us know if you have some names that you want us to talk about, the players you want to talk about. We are
Yeah,
very open to it.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Anshuman, for joining, and that's all from our side. Thank you so much.